What is up, everybody? We are back. It is time for the weekend review. And once again, we are still surfing all-time highs. Nothing's really changed. We got a big, beautiful bill that's passed. And this is, in my opinion, as you guys know, I've been talking about in the room for quite some time. This is going to give us 2 more years of straight moon. And that doesn't mean we won't get a pullback. But ultimately, we have $5 trillion in stimulus that's going to be coming into the market over the next 2 years. And so as they continue to devalue the dollar, we are going to have indices pump. Bitcoin's going to pump. Gold's going to pump. And, there's no reason to really be looking to fade this thing. If you're trying to get short, I would not recommend doing it for very long. We are in buy the dip territory once again. This market is insane, and, indices are made to go up. So what do? We hit the buy button. So let's get right to it with this weekly TPO. So as you can see here, we went all the way up to around 53.40. We had a bullish imbalance from last week. We ended up filling the whole thing. I already erased it. If you care and you want to see, it's in the room. But this bullish imbalance is complete. So I did notice that we have a really lack of a lower profile here on the weekly, and it could bring us all the way back down in to fill those singles around 61.60. That would be awesome. I don't know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, but clearly we have an inefficiency in the marketplace here that will happen at some point. But right now, as you can see, we have a pretty monster point of control there at 62.43 that has a ton of volume right around this location here. Last week, when they were actually putting in all this volume, I was shocked. I just simply could not believe all the absorption that was taking place here. And it was just really just big boys battling it out as they continued to squeeze this higher. And my guess is we got a lot of dealer repositioning going on, and there was a lot of, just wondering if the bill was going to go through, et cetera, et cetera. All that is irrelevant other than the simple fact that we have a big weekly point of control at 62.43, which is going to be a particular area that we're going to focus on when we actually get into the charts for some technical side here, okay? So keep that in mind. Obviously, we have some weekly singles down here into 61.60, which I said which would kind of complete this profile here. And again, we'll get into that with another big weekly naked point of control lower. So let's get right into the daily weekly charts and just see where we're at. So here we go. Still surfing, right? Big time moves up over here. We've got some untested weekly support pretty much everywhere. So here's the deal, and this is as simple as it gets. We moved up so fast that they have gained so much support that they're going to have a hard time coming down. And when I say coming down, I don't mean 100 points or whatever. I mean, once you get into this area here, this is thick as hell, right? And I don't even think it's going to get that far. So we got 61.43, guys. Big weekly here, right? And we all the way down to 61.29. I like this area. And we're going to be looking all the way down into, what is that, 60.98, it looks like. Okay. And as you can see, we have some dailies here at 60.98, 61.29. We have a daily at 61.22, and then 61.43 over here. Well, we've got a daily at 49 and another one at 54. So keep those in mind. I'm going to go ahead and blow up the daily chart now so that you guys can see what's up. Let's just get right into where this structure is coming from, because that's what's really going to be important for us. I threw a volume profile on here just so that we could see where this, where all the activity was taking place. And there is a monster volume node here that's lined up right with our daily untested daily levels. And so, this is a great place to buy. And I'll be bidding hard here, big time. And, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use this previous all-time high from February at 61.66 as a trigger for us to have further momentum to the upside. So as we pull back in here and then regain the 61.66, we just buy with both hands, okay? So that's the idea anyway. That's just kind of the trigger for moving higher, okay? So with that being said, we also have up here, and I'm just going to point this out, very large point of control located at 62.48. So if you recall, that weekly point of control that I pointed out to you guys is right around 62.43. We've got a lot of confluence here. We also have another daily at 62.48 right here that is technically tested, but I think it's going to play again. And the reason I say that is because there's just a lot there, and I'll show you when we get down into the 4 hour. It looks pretty sexy. So the thing is guys, I want you to understand one thing first and foremost. You know, we can pull back, you know, like a solid 140 points here. But even pulling back 140 points, like, we don't lose our bullish momentum, okay? Like, they just continue to push up so high and so fast that little profit taking and a pullback to find buyers would be quite healthy. You know, when we get lofty like this, people get a little nervous, and then relative volume gets low, and we have a hard time moving higher other than just algos. And so a pullback would actually bring demand in from not only institutions, but from retail traders as well, who are looking to buy the dip, who basically have missed out on this large push. Okay, so with that being said, we know the areas that we need to focus on here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just work this down because this is going to be almost like a macro view. You guys know on this weekend reviews, I like to, you know, kind of cover the high time frame so that you can always reference back to this. So, you know, here's the part that's crazy. So right now, technically, and it doesn't mean this won't change later, but right now, this is our leg up down here. Okay, 59.78. So we would have to close the daily time frame below this before we actually lost support on the daily. I know that sounds crazy as hell, and but that is the absolute truth. Now, right here, we talked about the 61.49.54 area. I really want to see this play. Okay, if it doesn't, and we get a daily close below here, we start to shift momentum in the favor of the bears. Now, it doesn't mean that the bull run is over. It just, you know, momentum shifts in their favor for the temporary time being. We have another great daily here at 61.22. Love this spot. Okay, played excellent right here from the bottom up and also from the top down twice. Good spot. Another spot that I really like is the 98. The 98 is sexy for me because it comes all the way from a previous all-time high from November, and it also has another daily leg down here at 93. So I got like a 5 or 6 point zone here, the 60.98 to 60.93 spot, where I'd be willing to buy like pretty strong. And we'll get into that when we get down into the 4 hour. So one of the things that I do want to point out before we even get to the 4 hour is because we moved up so fast, there's a lot of levels, guys. There really is. I mean, this is just buy every dip, unfortunately. I know that sounds corny and lame, but that is just what it is. So with that being said, that's the daily for you and the weekly. So I'm just looking at gold out of the corner of my eye. This thing is getting murdered. And, you know, with that being said, you know, for right now, you know, this is kind of the environment we're living in right now because risk is off, man. Risk on as far as, like, you know, getting long on the indices and the stocks and all this other stuff. And some of these hedge plays are going to suffer temporarily. They will eventually pick back up, and we can get into gold and other stuff another time. But, you know, just interesting contrast here of what's going on. So again, don't let a little pullback scare you. When I say a little pullback, 100 points would be nice. 150 points would be nice. Is it going to happen? I don't think so. At least not right away. And so let's go ahead and get right into the 4 hour here. So I pulled the 4 hour up for you guys, and I also drew another volume profile. This is kind of me tinkering around and wanting to see, and it's pretty obvious that we did, you know, a couple days of accumulation right here. So it's not a surprise that we have a point of control at 62.45. And this basically extends from this leg from here all the way to the high. And so the majority of the volume is here. And it's funny, as you can see, I have A+ written on here. This is not only the weekly POC, this is an untested 4 hour. And then we also have another untested 4 hour at 62.40. Okay. So other than that, though, everything's tested below this. Okay. So we really want to see this hold. I mean, this is a really nice leg right here. To me, this is an A+ setup. And the way I would be looking to play this is if we came down, we kind of want to fill up these singles in the profile, and I guess I need to show you that because I got ahead of myself here. We have some singles in the profile that are extreme market efficiency that will more than likely get cleaned up, and it's in a great spot. I mean, it literally is like right here at the daily, right? So is that daily going to play as an untested daily? I'm not sure. You know, for me, this is technically tested. So the way I would really want to see this go, and the way that I would personally want to play this, is I want to see it dip fill these singles, dip slightly below this daily into my 62.45, 62.40 area, obviously staying above the 62.43 because this is the leg up. We tested it right here, boom. So this is tested to me, right? So I want to see it hold this 40 big time, right? And then once we get back above this 62.48, this is where we buy hard, right? Because at this point, we know we're holding this 4-hour leg. This is our first target right here at 62.70. This is a 20-point target, essentially. It takes us right to the previous weekly value area high. And as you can see right here, this is the weekly value area high. This is the weekly value area low. This is that previous week's POC. This is pretty much like a huge value area from last week. And so as we obviously want to take profits on the upper edge of this value area, and just being above this daily is going to be big. Now, here's what you have to understand. If they hold this leg, even though this is our first target, they can take this all the way back up, because if they can't lose this 4-hour leg, they'll more than likely make a new high. Okay? It's that simple. And this daily at 63.23.50 is tested. Okay, so I would be looking to take some profits there because this was tested on a holiday. I think this was like whatever that one of those half days were or whatever. I usually disregard all this price action, but just with that being said, if we hold the leg and we can't make a new low, we're probably going to make a new high. That's just how it works, all right? So with that being said, let me hide some of these other stuff now. So here is, you can see right under here. Now this is a 4-hour down here, 62.20.75. I don't like this level. I don't like the formation. I would not be looking for this level to be like an amazing level unless something happens, okay? And what happens is, you can see right here, FBD, right? Failed breakdown. If we play this level at 62.20 and we regain 62.24 and find acceptance here, this could literally squeeze.
FBD 4-hour gold. FBD 1-hour gold.
This could literally squeeze all the way back up, and we were going to want to see it find acceptance and value essentially above 62.24 and then back above 62.34. And if we then get acceptance above 62.45, forget about it. We're just going to squeeze, right? So you can see that on the holiday they came down and they played our 4-hour level at 62.77, and they popped pretty good, actually. It looks like it popped about 40 points off of that level, and a lot of it had to do with the open currently right now. But that is essentially where we're looking at for our current market structure. As you can see, below 62.20.75, it gets pretty dicey. I don't have any support here until we get pretty low. Okay, now when we get low, I know this looks crazy, like, damn, where'd all them lines come from? Well, I was just showing you the dailies and stuff, right? So that's where these dailies are coming from at. This is that weekly single area that I feel needs to get filled. This is that previous all-time high I just showed you guys. So if we pull back down in here, guys, this is our buy spot, right? And, we're just going to look for acceptance, essentially, back over the previous all-time high from February. If they play this and they find acceptance over 66, really a good target spot is 62.20. And you're talking about, 60 points there. It's a fucking monster trade. And then we just kind of keep playing it as it goes. Obviously, we continue to have, support lower. There's this weekly here at 62.43 that I would be leaning on heavy. There's a 2-day naked POC that's down here, and that previous weekly POC. I can make a case for this weekly being tested, but I'd love to see it hold. Okay, now the other end of the spectrum is directly below this. We have an untested daily at 61.22. I was talking about that, and there's a 4-hour there. To me, this is another A+ setup. Okay, especially if we end up. Let's just pretend this doesn't work. Okay, which I doubt that, but let's just pretend it doesn't work. And it comes down here and we play 62.22, 61.19. Obviously, getting back above these weeklies here at 61.29 and 61.33 are going to be big. Huge trigger, because this was the leg that took us up. So once we get above this pivot, let's just call it the weekly at 61.33, we're off and running. And then we look to start to regain, these other big major daily levels. Okay. Now, again, we have to continue to say, if we continue to find weakness, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? We have a big TPO gap down here, and I like this area too. I mean, again, there's just so many places to buy. It's ridiculous. So, this is the 4 hours. You can see 61.19. Then we come over here, and we have this 60.91. I'm going to put this back on just so you can see naked POC. This is my ETH daily top down. I've got a weekly at 98. I've got a daily at, I don't know what this says, 93.75. I mean, just another gangster spot. I mean, it just buy. So underneath that, 61, 61, or 60, 61, 60, 42, 50, and then again 60, 10. I don't really think we need to go any lower than that today just because I don't see that happening, but anything's possible. So, but throwing the other time frames back on there, look at this 60, 61 spot. We've got a 2-day composite value area high. We've got 2 monthlies here, right? One ETH, one RTH, both coming from right around 60, 65 area. And then we've got this 4-hour, and then directly below that is 60, 55. We've got a daily, and we've got all this super hardcore 4-hour structure right here. I mean, look at all these opens and closes. Just ridiculous. So, and if worst case scenario, they dip in here, we've got another 4-hour, but then once again, we've got another freaking weekly down here in a 2-week composite POC at 60.26. I mean, this is just buy central. So with that being said, I'm not even really looking for shorts. Don't even really care. I'm just in buy the dip mode and ride this bitch. So I suggest everybody kind of, obviously do your own homework and whatever. But I mean, at this point, we haven't lost on any level of time frame. And, for me, this is just find the right place to get in. And so right now, for me, the right place to get in is this A plus spot down here at 60, 45, 60, 40, or 62, 45, 62, 40. And then, where things get super, questionable is underneath the 62, 34. And then it all goes to shit underneath 62, 20. And then we start to look for some real areas to kind of get swing long, which is down here. Okay, so that kind of covers it. I mean, there's not much more to go off of here. Just looking at the daily TPO, you can clearly see right here, this is that weekly spot at 62.43, a lot of volume down here, whatever. Like this isn't even, worth looking at right now, other than the fact that there is a naked POC at 62, what does that say, 63.24. Funny because that happens to be our daily leg down at 62.2350. This is the level that I said was tested during the holiday. And so is it tested? I don't really know because I don't usually include that type of price action. I really just omit it completely. And what's interesting is when I pull up my RTH chart and take a look, this is clearly very much untested and could get smacked. So what's it going to do? I don't know. I'm not really ultimately worried about shorting it. If anything, I'll use it as a target for a long. Okay, and this is again the RTH chart. Look how sexy this spot is. I'm buying down here, and obviously we're going to use caution as always and keep our risk in check. But this is the spot. So as far as this particular segment up, and we also know that you can even see from the RTH chart below 62.2075, it kind of goes bad, right? It just gets ugly until 61.87 is our first level of 1-hour support. And then we get down in here into these daily areas. And even on the RTH chart, it looks really good because, you got this little gap in here and you like fill this up and, this is a nice ledge. I'm all about it. So that's really what we're working with, guys. I'll pull the 1 hour up just to kind of show you a little bit more granular view what I got here. But I mean, I pretty much just laid it out for you. No reason to beat a dead horse here. And I think we're going to stop right there. So I hope you guys have a great week. Again, we're up until further notice, and I just showed you the areas where you need to be looking if things go wrong. So you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you on the battlefield tomorrow. Cheers.